Southwest Florida's news source. This is Fox 4 News at 6.
Now at 6, the search for a missing paddleboarder coming to a sad ending just 48 hours after a kayaker disappears in these same waters off Sanibel.
One of the so-called cash fiends killers could get another chance at parole. Why Ashley Toy's case is going before the U.S. Supreme Court.
Saved at sea, a dramatic Coast Guard rescue as a boater facing starvation is plucked from this deserted island. But first,
4 in your corner following breaking news off the coast of Sanibel tonight. A tragic end to a search that spanned over 24 hours.
Authorities now confirming to Fox 4 they have found the body of a missing teenager who vanished yesterday afternoon right after falling off a paddleboard on Algiers Beach. Family members identifying that victim as 19-year-old Chad Winter of Woodstock, Illinois. Dive teams finding his body this afternoon about 300 yards off Sanibel Island.
4 in your corner's Warren Wright standing by live on Sanibel with details on this tragic discovery. Warren?
Just before 4 o'clock this afternoon, the Sanibel Police Department, along with other search and rescue crews, found the body of 19-year-old Chad Winters. They found the body floating just 300 yards off the shoreline from this very beach. Now, his parents are already on Sanibel, and they, of course, had to come face to face with their worst possible fears. And in the meantime, his friends and his family were posting on Facebook. Here's what some of them had to say. Spread the word to your friends and family and to their friends and family. Pray that God will show the way to finding Chad. Pray for a miracle, or just pray that he will be found. Also, right now, finding Chad Winter is all I can think about. Please, God, for our family, find him. Don't keep us in the dark. And also, this can't happen. Please, God, don't let this happen. You can't let this happen. But those fears were realized late this afternoon. A fleet of boats formed a grid-like pattern, and that's when they found the body floating 300 yards from the shoreline. I spoke with several paddleboard operators and asked them what they think happened. And all of them asked the same question. They wanted to know, was he wearing a leash, a rope that tethers you to the board?
I'm guessing he fell off and hit his head and got knocked out, or he fell off and was so far from shore with a current that it kept carrying him out. He panicked and drowned, and that's pretty much the national statistics on drowning.
Now, later at 6:30, we're going to have a special report on paddleboard safety, what you need to do, a checklist of things that you need to have to make sure that you're safe. And also, if you're new to the sport, where are some of the safer places for you to go paddleboarding? In the meantime, the search for Chad Winters is over. They found the body just 300 yards from the shoreline of this very beach right here on Sanibel. Reporting to you live on Sanibel Island, Warren Wright, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, thank you very much, Warren. Meanwhile, another search on Sanibel has since been called off, this one for a kayaker missing since early Saturday night. 32-year-old Andrew Barber reportedly flipping his kayak in San Carlos Bay, and so far he has not been found. But his friend, who was kayaking with him at the time, did make it back to shore safely. Florida Fish and Wildlife and the Coast Guard have been combing the waters for days, but again, they have since suspended their search. And you can count on 4 in your corner to stay on top of both of these developing stories. We'll bring you the very latest on air and online. You can check out our website anytime. It's fox4now.com.
A man fighting for his life after he was struck by a car in North Fort Myers this afternoon. The Florida Highway Patrol says it happened on 41 right at the main entrance of the Shell factory. Troopers say the guy was standing right next to his car in this area when a tire blew on an approaching car, causing the driver to lose control and skid off the road before hitting that victim dead on.
It was more of a driver error. He continued on down the shoulder. Why these people were out and had stopped here, it was unknown, but they had stopped, and the passenger was struck by the car then.
Tonight, troopers telling us the driver of the oncoming car was not hurt, and they're not going to identify the victim until they notify his next of kin.
A bizarre accident sending a Collier County man to the hospital with potentially serious injuries this morning. Troopers say the victim was working on his car, which was running just off of Collier Boulevard in Lord's Way, when it suddenly rolled over him. A few people in the area saw it happen. They quickly called for help. Troopers say the victim was eventually flown to Lee Memorial Hospital. Tonight, that accident is still under investigation.
In the Storm Patrol Center now with Jim Sign. I don't know if it can get any better than this. I've been sleeping like a baby in this weather.
Well, what, do you sleep outside, for goodness sake?
You crack those windows and I go a little longer than I normally do.
Beautiful weather across the board. I heard so many people talking about how nice it is as our temperatures are now falling through the 60s. We were real cool in the evenings and real cool in the mornings. Now we're seeing the temperatures moderate just a little bit. We're in the mid-60s right now. No need for a jacket if you're heading out for an evening constitutional. 63 in Punta Gorda, 66 in Immokalee, 65 in Palmdale, 68 our current temperature in Clewiston, a little bit warmer there close to Lake Okeechobee. Using the power of 1, 2, 3, 4 Doppler radars to show you a couple of showers way out in the Gulf of Mexico, but you don't have to be concerned about those showers, even though we are tracking a little bit of rain out in the Gulf associated with a cool front. I'll show you that coming up here in just a second. We do have a cold front that's coming, and it does look like it's going to make it to southwest Florida tomorrow. So we are going to see a changing Wednesday. A little bit of everything in our Wednesday forecast, which we'll bring you here in just a couple of minutes. More changes for the weekend, and another look at Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, all coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
An update for you now. In an ongoing death investigation in Cape Coral, police have now identified the victim. Police say the body of 47-year-old Juan Valdemiro was found in a vacant lot right near the 3000 block of Southwest 15th Place on December 8th. It's just feet away from a Dollar General store in that area, but as of tonight, still really early in the investigation. Police are still waiting for the official cause of death from the medical examiner after that autopsy. We do know that at this point, officers do not suspect foul play, and you can stay with 4 in Your Corner for any updates.
New information is coming to light tonight about a deadly house fire in Lehigh Acres that claimed the life of one person and left another seriously hurt. The fire ignited shortly before 7 o'clock last night at the home on Jersey Road West in Lehigh. The state fire marshal now saying that the fire was sparked by an electrical issue inside the home. Fire crews say a couple was inside when it broke out. Sadly, one woman died as a result of her injuries, and her husband, we're told, was transported to Tampa General Hospital for severe burns. Crews have since deemed the home a total loss.
Follow the rules or get out of town. That's what local cab and limo companies are saying to the new ride-sharing service called Uber. The international company is now in Southwest Florida, and 4 in Your Corner's Katie Jones working to find out if they plan to play by the county's rules. Katie?
Well, Patrick, after skipping out of last night's meeting hosted by local cab companies, Uber officials went before Lee County commissioners this morning to explain why their presence is a plus for the community. What many call a cheap, easy, and convenient commute is sparking tons of backlash from Southwest Florida transportation companies.
It's really simple. Obey the law and nobody will complain.
Philip Griffin, owner of Bluebird Taxi, is complaining about the new ride-sharing service Uber. It rolled into Southwest Florida a couple of weeks ago and is giving local business owners a fight for their fares. How it works is pretty simple. You download an app, find out where Ubers are in your area, and can get a ride for typically less money than a cab.
This is a new technology, and the competition is good for consumers, and that ultimately I believe we will all be able to coexist with one another.
Uber policy associate Dave Barmore says the company is no stranger to the controversy, and today he went before Lee County commissioners to explain the service and the willingness to play by their rules. Right now, Uber requires drivers to have a valid license, personal insurance, and a background check that goes back 7 years.
These are residents of Lee County. Ultimately, these are people that are using their own personal vehicles. These aren't people coming in from outside communities.
But county officials aren't taking Uber's word for it. The Lee County attorney is now drafting an ordinance to make sure Uber complies with their background checks, insurance regulations, vehicle inspections, and monitored hours of operations that other cab companies meet.
We want to be sure that there are adequate protections in place for people that choose to use the Uber business model for their transportation needs.
The county attorney tells me so far there have been no Uber-related citations issued, and they'll present the new ordinance to the board sometime early next year. Live in the studio, Katie Jones, Fox 4 in your corner.
All right, thank you, Katie. Now we want to hear from you on this ongoing debate in our community. What are your thoughts on Uber in Southwest Florida, and what do you think should be included in this ordinance, or do you think we don't need one? Call or text 239-206-FOX4 or email news@fox4now.
From life without parole to possibly walking free, a pending U.S. Supreme Court decision could change the life of a suspected gang member. Ashley Toy, a member of the Cash Fiends, was convicted in the double murder of Alex Sosa and his nephew Jeffrey back in 2006. Toy was 17 at the time and sentenced as an adult to life without parole. But back in 2012, the High Court ruled that juveniles cannot be punished to this extent. Toy's attorney believes the court will make this ruling retroactive, meaning that her current sentence could be thrown out.
It is very possible that if the U.S. Supreme Court and Florida Supreme Court both say it's retroactive, then she goes in front of the judge here in Lee County, and we're optimistic that she would be given a sentence less than what she has now, which means that she could one day leave the prison and resume a normal life.
Stu Pepper, that attorney you just heard from, says the decision could drop any day this week. Now, if it is retroactive, Ashley Toy will be granted a special hearing and her sentence could be reduced to 40 years.
4 in your corner covering the races you decide. Another member of the Bush clan may want to be your president. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush announcing today he'll, quote, actively explore the possibility of running for president. He also says he's going to be forming a political action committee next month. That's a big move. Now, because he hasn't officially thrown his hat into the race, though, he'll be able to raise money without complying with federal restrictions. Bush has been dropping some bigger and bigger hints lately. He's been thinking about running for that 2016 Republican nomination for several days. But what do the latest polls show? Well, the latest one shows that former presidential candidate Mitt Romney is leading the field of likely 2016 GOP candidates. That latest McClatchy-Maris poll showing Romney has support from about 19% of likely Republican voters, with Jeb Bush getting about 14%. Former governors were followed by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, both with 9%, and Ben Carson with 8%. We want to hear from you about this. Do you think the former Florida Governor Jeb Bush should throw his hat in the race for president in 2016? And if not, who else do you like for it? Call us or text 239-206-FOX4 or email us right now at news@fox4now.
A Lee County Sheriff's deputy involved in a crash as his car collides with someone else's.
Like the officer said, he said, it happens. And that's the way it is.
Exactly where it happened and who the driver says could end up fighting over it.
More options for you tonight when it comes to flying in and out of Southwest Florida. The new destinations with direct flights from your hometown airport.
But some people at the airport are worried tonight. Why these workers say one airline's move is not beneficial to them or you. That's next.